Good evening, traders. It's your currency forex strategy specialist.
Success.
I like how that sound, Mr. Campbell, man, and welcome back to another weekly movers overview. It's just great to be a trader, man. I just gotta always say this, man. This is the greatest skill on the planet, in my opinion. Unlimited upside when you do it right. It's really just all trading is really you just learning about yourself and taking control of yourself, your emotions, your discipline. That's really what it is. And once you get a hold of that, it's just a great thing to be in. It's just really an honor and a privilege to be here in front of you right now. Just able to share some things with you, some ideas that hopefully will progress your trading. So with that being said, new traders, seasoned traders, happy traders, welcome to this edition of the Weekly Movers Over. Whoa, I know. This is what you might be saying. It's a lot going on right here. But, as we continue to progress, as we continue to proceed, United Traders Research Group is getting better and better and better and better and better. So with that being said, let me explain what's going on here. We got what we normally give you, the strongest and weakest pairs technically. We got Forex Factory layout for next week, what's coming out. And here we got positive or negative. So if these yellow reports that we're focusing on comes out positive, these are the pairs we want to look at. If it comes out negative, these are the pairs that we want to look at. You can see for these corresponding reports here, we got highlights: green, red, yellow. Green is meaning that the forecasted amount is about to come out positive, or forecasted to come out positive, excuse me. So for these greens, that's what that is saying. The yellow is pretty much the same, so it's unknown, and red is, you can tell, negative. So over here, you can see the same green highlights and red highlights, which should be the same. These should match. If it's green here, it should be green here. And basically what that's indicating is the best pairs to trade if it comes out as forecasted.
Success.
Excuse me. If it comes out as forecasted. So with that being said, this is an example. We got some news coming out on the Canadian dollar on Monday. It's forecasted to be positive. If the news is positive, I'm going to be looking for trades on the Australian Canadian dollar short. As you can also see, these pairs that's colored are, these pairs that's listed are colored, excuse me. And if it's red, that means we want to short the pair. If it's green, that means we want to go long on the pair. So say the news comes out, in this example, positive, like we said. With the highlight, it makes it look a little bit funny, but that's red. This is green with the highlight. And these are red with the highlight. So these are red. And if it comes out green, I'm positive, excuse me. I'm over here mixing up the colors in there. Alright, so if it comes out positive as forecasted, we want to go short on the Australian dollar CAD and the Euro CAD. That's basically all this means. Going all the way down. In this section over here, I just got some special notes from last week on the 14th. We got some negative CPI numbers on the pound. And I hold CPI pretty highly. That's inflation, and typically interest rates follow inflation. People got their own opinion on that, but I still look at that, and it's been helping my equity curve. So I'm not gonna, all evidence is proven to me that it's a reliable indicator. So I'm not gonna fight that. But it was just seeing that news coming out as negative. Because right now, as you can tell if you've been following the weekly overviews, we got some positive sentiment on the pound. Well, it is positive. The dollar and the pound are pretty much the strongest pairs right now, and it's just really it's almost like a race, I would say, to see who's going to increase interest rates faster. But with Europe, all the things going on in Europe, that could weigh a little bit on the pound, on the UK and their currencies, and that's what I think is really going on, because that would definitely influence or hinder their exports. If Europe doesn't have any money to buy, now the UK got to find some place else to sell it to. Where are they going to get this revenue? And I believe that's what's going on. And overall, on a broad scope of things, that could be possibly affecting the pound. And with that being said, that's why I'm pretty much cautious on the pound. I still got a strong overview on it, moving to the upside. But right now, I'm expecting to pull back pretty much in this week. And with that being said, let's get a little bit further into what's going on this week. On Monday, the report that I'm looking at is the wholesale. We got news coming out on the Canadian dollar, as we mentioned. It's expected to be positive. So I'm expecting for some strength. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Just got a little distracted by this cell phone over here. That's just another thing. You just want to really limit your distractions. It's a surprise to me how distracting these cell phones could be, with alerts from emails, alerts from text messages, alerts from calls, alerts from voicemails, alerts from this application and that application. Your phone could really just be going off all day. So, oh man, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta turn it off and step away from it. But it's difficult to do that when you're progressively growing exponentially, which is the goal. So it's just all about finding balance. But getting back to what we was talking about, we got some news coming out on the Canadian dollar, expecting for it to be strong. So if the news comes out positive, like we mentioned, I'm going to go short on these pairs, the Australian dollar CAD, the Euro CAD. If it comes out negative, I'm looking to go short on the Canadian yen and long on the dollar CAD. And that's pretty much how all of these plan out. I'm not going to really mention each one. You can actually just see it for yourself. And I'll come back to the review if you ever need to review it during the week. But I'm going to just continue to go through these news reports here to just show you sentiment-wise what we're looking at. So we got some news coming out on the Swiss, which is projected to be positive. Dollar news projected to be positive as well. And Australian dollar news expected to be negative. Got some news coming out on the pound on Wednesday, which we can see a surprise here. This is why I got it in yellow. I'm going to be sitting tight. If it comes out positive, this could be the start of a bigger, uptrend. More news coming out on the Canadian, positive news coming out on the Canadian, positive news coming out on the dollar. Canadian interest rates coming out. It's no telling. It's really no telling right now with all this positive news. It's really no telling if it's positive. If it comes out slightly positive, it'd be great for the Canadian dollar. It's hard to tell sentiment-wise if that's really gonna be the case. I'm really thinking it may just come out the same. So, with that being said, I got it as a caution. I'm just gonna sit tight and see what happens. But as you can see earlier in the week, though, we definitely should see some strength on the Canadian dollar before we get there, and also some strength on the dollar as well before we get there, and some negative strength on the Canadian dollar. Moving on into the week, later on Wednesday, when things typically like to pick up later in the week, we got some news coming out of New Zealand. CPI numbers projected to be positive, which could cause some interesting movements on the Euro New Zealand and Australian New Zealand. I'll be looking for a short on those pairs. And if it comes out surprisingly negative, you want to look for a short on a New New Zealand dollar and a short on the New Zealand yen. Moving on to Thursday, we got news coming out on the pound, projected to be negative as well. So this week, even though it's a positive outlook overall on the pound, is definitely looking like it's going to be pulling back this week, similar to how the dollar did last week. The pound pulled back last week as well, but later in the week, as you can see, it started to pick up a little bit. So typically on Wednesday, we see kind of like those trend continuation moves, or just reversing the trend. So you want to just be aware of that, and you can kind of tell from the sentiment, and this is why I look at these things. When you see the positive forecast, you can kind of really narrow down and pair it up with our technical strong and technical weak pairs, and pair that up with the sentiment coming out and just the overall overlook, and really narrow it down and get some strong pairs to focus on. And if you know anything about the equity curve, when you focus on high probability pairs with high probability entries, in addition to using the 2 to 1, which I always mention, at least 2 to 1, or at least 1 to 1.5 risk reward. All of that is good. It's all good. But when you definitely got all of those in line, that's definitely a formula for a profitable system. So the entries really don't matter, in my opinion, too much. I got my personal entry strategy, and in addition, we always researching more at the United Research Traders Group. So it really doesn't stop. We're always looking to perfect our craft even better. And these are just a few of the things that works for us. So with that being said, hopefully you guys find some value from this. Not to get too far off topic here, let's get back into Friday. Friday we got some negative news coming out on the pound, and some negative news coming out, forecasted for the dollar. Also on Thursday as well, with unemployment claims. With that being said, last week we seen a surprise positive number, which really wasn't a surprise, as I mentioned in the weekly movers. We've seen positive numbers coming out on the unemployment, so it really wouldn't be a surprise again if we seen the same thing. And in addition, earlier in the week we got some positive sentiment on the dollar, so I'm expecting the dollar to make a move, and I'll be looking for some pullbacks. If we go to the charts here, actually before we go to the charts, let me just explain what I got over here. This is kind of like my little price forecast of how I think price should move throughout the week. So these would be days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 5 days, and just pretty much how, according to sentiment, is telling us that's price going to move. So if we're looking at the Australian dollar CAD, and it's Monday, we're seeing some positive news on the CAD. And what that means, we should see a decline or a push to the downside, to the Canadian dollar side, on this Australian dollar CAD on Monday. We also don't overlook the news on Sunday. I'm expecting the news on Sunday, is negative outlooks, negative projections coming out from Australia. So it's kind of tough to say if it's going to be positive or negative. But this is really just from Monday. So from Monday, even if we got to push up, which would be great for me personally, because I like to look for pullback before I get in. But based on the sentiment, we're looking for a down move on Monday. Tuesday comes out. We got some negative news coming out of Australia again. We got some speakers as well. But the forecast is still negative. So Tuesday we should see some further down movement. Wednesday we got some news coming out on the Canadian dollar, which is a positive for the Canadian dollar. So we should see some continued move to the downside, as well as some speakers. And when they're speaking, this is when things get interesting. We can see a pullback to the upside, but it's tough to say that really from what the sentiment is telling us. And that's pretty much why the rest of the week I just got it as pretty much a flat movement, but more strength to the downside, simply because we got that weak sentiment on the Australian dollar and positive multiple positive sentiments on a Australian CAD. So that's why I'm thinking this will be a great trade if you're looking for one next week. Shorten the Australian CAD. Typically, that's what I would have gave you. You know, you know, in this analysis. But Australian CAD, shorten the Australian CAD is should be a real good pair. Moving on to this week. Also the Australian dollar, which is also a good pair. Got a lot of strength on the dollar and a lot of strength from a lot of weakness on the Australian side of things. So kind of going through the same example. Looking at Monday, we just got the monetary minutes coming out on from Australia. So really not expecting too much on Monday from Australia. It could push it up. It could, but sentiment-wise, it's kind of tough to say. News coming out on the dollar on Tuesday, and Australia on Tuesday as well. So Tuesday is when we may see the biggest decline on the Australian dollar. Wednesday, we also got some continued positive news coming out on the dollar. So Wednesday, we see a continued move to the downside. And moving on, with the negative sentiment coming out on the dollar on Thursday, that's why I pulled, just drew it a little bit up. Had just display a bit of a pullback. Same thing on Friday, bit of a pullback. But as I mentioned, we may see a surprise, some surprise positive numbers come out. So, but based on my sentiment, this is how it's showing that price should move. Same thing on the dollar, and where I projected it as well. Just fast forwarding on Tuesday, we got positive news coming out on the dollar that should push it down, as you can see here. Wednesday, we got some numbers coming out, which could be positive on the pound, as we mentioned. So we could see a move to the upside. But later on, when them CPI numbers come out on the dollar, which is projected to be strong, we should see some continued movement to the downside. So we could see on Wednesday some tests of some resistance levels. Also on Tuesday, some tests of resistance levels before continue to move to the downside. And Thursday, negative numbers coming out on the pound should move this down. Later on, we got some negative numbers coming out on a dollar, which we may see a surprise, like I mentioned. And from there, I'm just really expecting price to flatten out. So early in the week, we may see some better moves. Just want to highlight this Australian dollar CAD. Even though it's not really my A1 pair, it's a great pair towards the beginning of the week. And with all the news coming out on the Canadian dollar, that's what makes it a great pair this week. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be allowing sentiment to drive us this week as the A indicator, with our technicals being technical trend strength pairs being secondary. And I just want to see how the results go. So far things been great. I really can't complain. Honestly, I really can't complain. The research is really paying off, and it's making for the life that I dreamed of being when I was a trader. And I know you guys probably got dreams as well. This is definitely a ticket that could get you there. So just continue to stay tuned, and if you like this stuff, just please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button. If you're getting any kind of value of this, hopefully you're getting value in your equity curve. That's really where I want to make an impression. And if you like to get together and chat a little bit more on a personal level with that, feel free to email us at United Traders Research Group. Let's just take it over to the charts right quick. This Australian dollar. As we mentioned, if we're going back to forecast here, we can see that I'm really expecting price to move down in the next 3 days. So this is the 4-hour chart, and this is like the weekly levels. This is a zone that we've been looking at as resistance, and a zone that we've been looking at for support. So moving from last week, we was expecting some pullbacks on the dollar, and that's pretty much what we got, right to our resistance levels, with some good targets being previous support levels. You know, it's pretty straightforward. I actually want to take you to the same Australian dollar chart. This is actually the 1 hour, so let's move it up to the 4 hour. And just a much cleaner chart for right now. Here we go. So with that being said, this week I want to look for some pullbacks before a continued move to the downside. So as we mentioned on Monday, we got some news coming out. Hopefully that'll push up the Australian dollar. And we got some news on Tuesday, which is positive on the dollar. So that's when we'll start to see a reverse, in my opinion. So if we're pulling up on Monday, this is some zones that I'm looking at: 88.39 and also 89.37. Some good zones. Not sure exactly how likely we are to get there, but that's some good zones. I definitely, if price action approaches these levels, I'm definitely looking for some reversal patterns. This may be a good level as well. I like it. It's a big number. Now that I see, which is it's 8,800. Price pretty much been testing that. So we should see a pullback Monday, and Tuesday to Wednesday, possibly seeing a reverse to the downside. Definitely testing these lows down here. So this is some good targets for you guys. This is some good targets for you guys around. I like this level here. There we go. 86.80 is a good target for me personally, which I would like. Once it breaks these lows, I'll definitely be looking to move stops to break even. Even if you're looking to take this lower, once it pulls back and goes down, even if you're looking to take this lower, definitely want to move your stops to break even. And that's what I'm personally looking at this on this pair. In the Australian CAD, these are some zones that I'm looking for a pullback off before a continued decline to the downside. Just want to emphasize for the newbies and seasoned traders as well. These are not trading recommendations. This is simply what I'm looking at. My whole goal is for you to trade your personal trading strategy on these pairs for some good gains, as well. So that's pretty much how I'm looking at it. As you can see, these levels that I got line up with some good fibs. You got a 38 over here, 38%, and a good 50% up there. So that's pretty much where I'm looking to start to do some business. As one of my mentors would say, start to do some business around these zones. Some good high probability zones with some tight risk, and definitely looking to target around there. And also want to put a time exit on it, because as we mentioned, I want to put a time exit, where I'll start to look to move to break even, because as we mentioned on the Australian dollar CAD around Wednesday, we want to, it's possible to see some range in action. So if we're in the trade up here at a good high probability zone, if price pulls back and our trade, system gives us a signal around there, and by Wednesday, say price is down here, and I know it's not a lot of news coming out that's can propel this to the downside. after Wednesday, I want to just move my stop loss to break even, and just take the risk out the trade. Hopefully, to continue to drift on to my targets. But if not, at least it's not a loss. So that's pretty much how we want to look at that. Looking at the pound 4 hour, as I mentioned, expecting prices to continue to drift down. This week. Yep. So with the sentiment that's coming out, we're at this zone. We got to pull back. My personal indicators, trend indicators to the upside. This is a zone that I'm looking to do some business at the 6,200. Really don't think it'll get there this week. I don't really know if that's really highly likely, but for me personally, depending on how that news comes out on which day was that? What's this? On Wednesday, we got some news. Early in the week on Tuesday, as we mentioned, I'm expecting for price to go to the downside, and Wednesday we got some news to see how things gonna get interesting. So if this is Monday, this is Tuesday, this is Wednesday. Monday, I'm expecting price to pull up, maybe retest these highs up here at 61.20 for a possible move down on Tuesday. From these highs. Then on Wednesday, I drew this line here because on Wednesday, this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we could see a move to the upside. Depending on how this news comes out, if it could surprise us to the positive, we could definitely, if that's positive, there's no doubt that we'll see see price come up here. But if it's not, with the other news coming out on the dollar, we just got to sit tight and see what exactly it wants to do, because it's gonna be negative. We got some negative. So once we get a pullback here, depending on what happens on Wednesday, but forecast based on the forecast on Thursday and Friday, we can see price range as well. But I would definitely like to see prices continue to move to the upside. I'm expecting a pullback to around the zone, the 50 or the 60 zone. This is a nice level down here where price recently stalled at, which is cool in the 61% fib area. So anyway, in this zone, just like I mentioned it right there, anywhere in this zone we can look for a move to the upside. And this is also something called a symmetrical price pattern, where if you see a nice move to the upside over there, pretty much that same distance off the 61 would put us right in this zone, which is like where we're looking to see another reverse to the downside. So who knows if it all lines up like this. It'd be great if it does, but that's what the sentiment is telling us and what I'm expecting. So we just want to sit tight and see if our system will give us any signals around these zones. And this is pretty much what I'm looking at. Feel free to share your thoughts. I'm open to hear your thoughts on sentiment as well moving into next week. But this is how we like to do it, and this is what's been working. Combining our technical analysis with our fundamental sentiment analysis, and it's been helping us move forward to higher gains. So with that being said, I just want to wish you guys happy trading moving into next week. It's another great week to be a trader always, and feel free to reach out. Till next time, happy trading.